Hello, welcome to One Africa Mission with your brother Dobia Anzansi. Please, if you are new here, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, One Africa Mission, and also follow us on Facebook. We got a Facebook page, One Africa Mission. You can like our Facebook page, and then please send us your comments, share our videos, and then also let us know what your vision for Africa is, because our mission here is a united Africa. Our mission is to see the unity of Africa, and the momentum is very high now, as we all know. Now today, we all, as the youth of Africa, we all know that we deserve better than we are having now. We all know that Africa deserves better. And then we all believe that a united Africa can give us that better future. So in order for us to achieve that better future, or united Africa, we must all bring our energies together and to work towards the unification of Africa. There's a wind of change blowing all over Africa, and even outside of Africa. In Africa is in the diaspora, calling for a united Africa. So we here are missionaries. So and then we urge you to join any group that you see sincerely working towards the unification of Africa. There are a lot of groups out there. We have and then if you contact me, I can give you some of the I can link you to some of the groups. We have intercontinental we have a Continental Africa Revolution. It's a beautiful group. People share ideas about the unity of Africa. It's a revolutionary group. We have Emancipation of Africans. It is a Pan-African group where Africans come together to talk about or to share ideas as to what we can do for a better Africa. We have Organic African Paradigm, where the spirituality of Africa is taught into deeper and explained into deeper. You go there, or if you contact me, I can link you up to that. And then we have the ACUP, which is a Africa Continental Unity Party. This is a perfect group to be part of if you really want a better Africa. This is a perfect group to be part of. It is a political movement that is working hard, tirelessly for a better Africa, and also for the unification of Africa. So please, just as an African, I know you deserve better. I know the African that you inherited. You wouldn't want your children and your grandchildren to inherit the same Africa. You want an Africa where Africans will travel free within the continent. You want an Africa where the citizens of Africa, the brain drain that is happening now would stop, where the knowledge of Africans, the resources of Africa will go a long way to benefit the people of Africa. So please, as I said, there's a Continental Revolution going to Somalia. We're going to watch two different videos. It all talk about Somalia, but in different perspectives. So we're going to watch both two videos, and then when we come back, we analyze it, and then we see what is really, or what do we really need as African people, or what is happening.
A Somali citizen cannot travel to a single African country without a visa. US and UK citizens can travel to about 36, 35 African countries either visa-free or with visas on arrival. That Africans seem more tolerant to Westerners than they are to other Africans reflects a troubling bias, one that feeds the business pursuits and wanderlusts of Europeans and Americans, while starving Africans of their own right to see their own.
Yeah, so if you watch the first video, the sister, she's talking about Somalia. Somalia is an African country in the Horn of Africa, and this particular country has been through a lot. It has been through a lot, and unfortunately, Somalia has no visa free to any African country, according to the sister. That is really serious. That is very unfortunate. And this is the reason why we are calling for the unification of Africa. Because how on earth that an African country doesn't have access to any African country, visa free, before a Somali could travel to any part of Africa, they will need a visa. But a country, a colonizing country like Britain and America can travel, a citizen of those two countries can travel for almost 35 to 36 countries in Africa, either on visa free or visa on arrival. Who did this to us? Who did this to us as African people? And then we, the youth of Africa, what are we doing about this? That is why here in the One African mission, our mission is to provoke this debate among the youth of Africa. Because as I keep saying, our leaders will want to see the unification of Africa. Most of them, or some of them, will want a united Africa, because they know a united Africa will even make them more powerful. A united Africa will put them, no matter where you are, even whether you are in a president, whatever country that you are leading, a united Africa can make you more powerful. So they will want it, but they know the consequences of coming out to talk about the unity of Africa, because we also what happened to previous leaders who spoke about the unification of Africa. So yes, it is up to me and you to support them or to provoke this debate or this consciousness of a unification of a united Africa. So if you listen to the sister, she's talking about Somali citizens cannot travel to any country in Africa. Out of the 54 or out of the 54 or 55 countries in Africa, Somali citizens cannot travel to any country without a visa. But America, who are reasons behind, or America and Europe, Britain, who are reasons behind the suffering of the people of Africa, can travel almost to 35 or 36 countries in Africa, either visa free or visa on arrival. Who did this to us? And if you listen to the second video, because there's a second video whereby a Somali citizen, a professor in Canada, he is talking about how Somalis don't want to associate themselves with Africa.
To be happy with me, but let me start. Somalis deny Africanity. They do not want to be identified as African. They want to be Arabs. And the Arabs are pushing them. There's a dilemma here. You see, there's identity crisis here now. I don't have identity crisis. I'm an African, and there are so many Africans in Africa. I don't have identity crisis. You can call me whatever you want. But I have identity. You do not have identity now, because the Arabs have refused you. They are telling you, ya Abid. Aren't you better off to...
I'm a witness, a living witness of that. I have Somali friends. I've worked with Somali people, and I know most of them, they don't want to call themselves Africans. Years back, I used to really argue a lot with them for not trying to associate themselves with Africa. But now, listening to this sister, I can understand. I can understand why most Somalis don't want, even my neighbor is a Somali. And he doesn't really want, he doesn't feel comfortable when you're speaking to him about Africa, when you try to associate him with Africa. He doesn't really feel comfortable. Even though he knows he's an African, he cannot deny the reality. The reality is facing him. I used to work with a brother, Umar. And then he said to me, oh, last time him and his cousin, they went out, and then this African guy his cousin had problem with this African guy, and I asked him, where was your cousin? Where is from your cousin? He said, my cousin is from Somalia. I said, but is your cousin not African? Is Somalia not Africa? He got confused. But now I can understand why some Somalis, or majority of Somalis, don't want to identify themselves with Africa. Because how do you want to identify with yourself with a continent that does not even recognize you? Because if we how come we can give recognition to America and Britain and give them visa free or visa on arrival? Almost 35 to 36 countries recognize America and Britain and give them visa free or visa on arrival. And yet a Somali citizen, Somalia that is in Africa, cannot have access to any country in Africa. Can we blame them for not identifying with Africa? You see, we as African people, we are all suffering from colonization. But it is about time we start to take responsibilities of what happened to us and what we are still doing or still holding on to these colonial institutions, this colonial behavior that was imposed on us. It is about time we start to take responsibilities of that. Because, as I said, how on earth that a citizen of Africa have not access to any part of Africa, but a citizen of America and a citizen of UK or Europe can travel to almost 35 to 36 countries in Africa with visa free or visa on arrival? Why are we doing this to ourselves as African people? Why are we doing this to ourselves? I keep saying it. I was at work. Break time. These young Europeans, 4 of them, they are having argument as to Spain and Greece, which weather is good. The two countries. It's like some of them visited Greece, and some, I think 2 of them visited or 3 of them visited Greece before. One visited Spain. He's never been to Greece. The other has never been to Mallorca. So they were having argument among themselves. Which place the weather is good? This one said, "Oh, this place the weather is good. The food is nice." These are young Europeans. Some of them from Poland, Romania, and United Kingdom. They are having argument among themselves at work. And then break time, we're sitting in the canteen. We're sitting in the canteen eating. And the argument among them, friendly argument, got intense. So they started, okay, they must visit, the 4 of them must visit the 2 countries, both countries. I'm saying this to make a point. The 4 of them must visit Spain and then Greece at the same time to settle the argument. Can you imagine? Look at the privilege. Then they took their cell phones. They took their cell phones and they start within 15 minutes. They book holidays, Greece and then Spain. They're gonna go to Spain, spend about 2-3 days, and then fly to Greece, spend about 2-3 days, and come back to settle the argument. I was sitting like this, and I was asking myself, when will African children from different countries, so-called countries, maybe 2-3 African children from Cameroon, Somalia, South Africa, or Mozambique, or Namibia, will have argument like this among themselves and decide, okay, we're going to travel within those 2 particular countries to settle this argument? That was then that I start to ask myself a lot of questions. Can children of Africa really do this? No. The people who are asking Africans never to be united, not to open their borders among themselves, are the same people who give their children the privilege to travel within. How many Africans in Africa, young Africans in Africa, ever travel out of their country? Even if you try to do, because we are still holding on until these colonial borders, It is so difficult to do that. Yet the people who put that borders on us and make sure that we don't have the opportunity to explore our continent, the beauty of our continent, open their borders. Every European citizen that you ever has the opportunity or the privilege to travel outside of his country before. Every European at age of 25 already traveled to many parts of the world. So they deny you, or they ask you to deny yourself the opportunity to explore your own continent. Yet they open the borders to themselves. So can't we just sit down and ask ourselves questions as African people and say, no, enough is enough? How on earth can these people who went to Berlin sit down among themselves without any African, divide Africa among themselves and create borders, has been able to open their own country borders? They have been able to open their borders to if they're still forcing us to maintain this Berlin Conference borders, petition of Africa, among ourselves. Are we that dumb as African people? Can't we realize, can't we think and say, no, enough is enough? We also want our children to explore this continent, the beauty of this continent. I watched Brother Wodimaya, what he went through between the Ghana and Togo border. And not only that, every place that he visits in Africa, I follow. And everywhere he goes in Africa, the most beautiful part or places he visits, most of the time, it is not African people who are there. It is always Europeans who are there. So the European who is telling you, do not open your border because you are French, because you are English, because you are Portuguese, do not open your border to your brother who is coming from Mozambique, who is coming from Zambia. As a Congolese, don't open your border to him because he's coming from Cameroon. As a Cameroonian, don't open your border to him because he's coming from Nigeria. The same European will travel from Europe to Africa and come there and enjoy himself and come back to Europe and talk about it. Yet you, the African, cannot have the opportunity to travel. What are we doing ourselves? Can we continue to blame the Europeans for that? It is about time we take the responsibilities as African people and bring an end to this. The borders in Africa, if for nothing, must be abolished. We are one people, and we cannot continue to allow some people who came to Africa and demarcate Africa, share Africa not for the good of the African, but for their own good. And yet we're still keeping those borders. Somebody, the last time I saw this, somebody said a Finnish friend visited Senegal with colleagues, British, American, and Cameroonian. Only the Cameroonian needed a visa to visit Senegal. So, is this not disturbing? If this as an African will not get you angry, then what else? 3 people visiting Africa. One of them is, they are visiting Senegal. One of them is British. The other one is American. The other one is Cameroonian. And it was only the Cameroonian who needed a visa to visit Senegal. The British didn't need a visa. The American didn't need a visa. Yet the Cameroonian is the African. And the African need a visa to visit another African country. The European doesn't need a visa to visit another European country. Why are we doing this to ourselves? Can we still continue to blame the Europeans for what we are doing to ourselves? No. It is about time we start blaming other people and take responsibility of what is happening to us. We are in the 21st century. We cannot continue to maintain borders, as the former president of Kenya said. We cannot continue to maintain borders that has absolutely nothing good, or the intention of these borders was not for the good of Africa and the people of Africa. It is about time we bring an end to this. And I urge you, the youth of Africa, let us stand up and demand what is good for us. We also want to explore Africa. I want to have a visa free. I want to even have an African Union passport. Where is the African Union passport? I want to have it so that I can travel any part of Africa freely. Because Africa is my inheritance. My ancestors suffered to maintain that continent. For me, every part of the continent that I want to visit, I must visit freely, just like the Europeans visit or walk around Europe for free. I thank you very much for coming around. This is so disturbing. But please, let us bring our energies together. We need it. We need it. Let us all bring our energies together and see the unification of Africa. Africa, one military, one currency, and a greater Africa is awaiting us. I thank you very much for coming around.